Week number two of the MLS season, the home opener for the New York Red Bulls after dropping a tough 1-0 decision against FC Cincinnati. Nashville in town to take on New York off a scoreless draw against New England. Will Boling is the radio play-by-play voice of Nashville. Will, take me through week one for this Nashville team. Listen, you always want to get 3 points in your first game. But under what I would still say is an ongoing transition with BJ Callahan taking over, not a bad result to get a point first game.
Certainly. I think it would be fair to say it was a result you have become accustomed to with Nashville, but they got to it a different way. 14 shot attempts for Nashville in this game, the 8 corner kicks. Offensively, they're much more dynamic. A goal disallowed for Sam Surridge that's tight. VAR didn't review it, but Nashville felt like they were really close in one opportunity. So you're probably going into this match, if you're a New York fan, if you're a neutral in MLS, thinking, okay, same Nashville, not as offensively adept. They're not very dynamic. It's defend, it's sitting back. That is not what BJ Callahan wants this Nashville SC team to be. And we saw a different kind of buildup. We saw a team that wanted the ball. Anytime you can have more than 50% of possession against a Caleb Porter side, that's significant. And with a Caleb Porter team in New England that has more of his type of players, I thought it was significant that Nashville had the majority of the possession. That's not something we're accustomed to here under Gary Smith. Nashville is more of a mid to low block, sit back, have 47% of the ball, be good on set pieces, counterattack, and don't take a lot of chances. So it is certainly a team that is still in transition. You have many of the same faces in Hani Mukhtar, in Walker Zimmerman, and Joe Willis and net, who picked up his 50th MLS clean sheet over the weekend. But this team is a lot more dynamic, and they are much more risk-taking in possession. And it's going to make for a really interesting matchup this upcoming weekend.
Tell me a little bit about Andy Nahar, because all of the talk during really the preseason and even during the game against New England, trying to do some prep work like we all do and follow up. There were so many tweets and comments about, wow, Andy Nahar looks great for Nashville, does this, does that. He could be, even as a outside back type defender, he could be a game changer for you.
He really could. And boy, it's funny. All the talk about 11 new players, 5 guys making their debut. If you had taken someone who didn't know this team, put them in that stadium, they probably would have thought Andy Nahar was the 19-year-old making his first appearance in a Nashville shirt, because the way he's bombing up and down the pitch, the work rate did not look like somebody who started their career in DC in 2010 in MLS. But coming into his 8th season in Major League Soccer, he's got 150 games of experience. It's interesting, Matt. He is almost kind of player that would have fit in NSC 1.0. This has kind of been dubbed NSC 2.0 by general manager Mike Jacobs. He is the kind of player that would have fit in 2020, a Nashville team that wanted and valued MLS experience. When they brought in, former Red Bull Dax McCarty, when they brought in Anibal Godoy, when they brought in Dan Lovitz, at left back, who's still in the team. So they're still valuing that, but in a different way now, in a different profile. What I like about Andy Nahar is he doesn't just fit the run and cross kind of game model that the Nashville of old would have liked. That he is a player that is comfortable dribbling inside. He can take it to the touchline. He can score. I mean, 5 goals earlier in his career in DC United and what feels like forever ago. And a guy they really feel like still has a lot left in the tank. BJ Callahan told me Friday leading up to this game that right-hand side for Nashville had some jaw-dropping moments in preseason. And that was with Andy Nahar at right back, Eddie Tagseth, the Norwegian midfielder who comes in from Norway in the offseason, and Hani Mukhtar as a second striker on that right-hand side. That partnership of those three look like they've been playing together for 5 years. And really, it's been more like 2 months. If Nashville has any success this weekend against Red Bulls, or even just this season, it's because the right side of their team is carrying them. Those 3 guys, Nahar, Tagseth, and Mukhtar, are going to make them go.
All right. So you mentioned obviously a lot of roster turnover, which teams have from year to year in Major League Soccer, and with BJ Callahan kind of continuing his transition to get guys in that he wants. How much of Nashville's success off a disappointing year last year is still predicated by Walker Zimmerman, Sam Sturridge, and Hani Mukhtar being better than they were last year, healthier in some regards, but also better, I think, Will, because I don't know that you could say any of the three of them really had their normal type of year.
No, you're 100% right. And Sam Surridge, 15 goals in all competitions. It was statistically probably a fine season for him, but he'll tell you as well, there is another level to be reached. And it's so interesting. You talk to BJ Callahan about him, and he thinks Sam Surridge has kind of been miscast a little bit, maybe by previous coaching staffs, maybe not necessarily this one, but you think of a 6'3" British center forward coming from Nottingham Forest. You're thinking of a guy that you just want to throw long balls up there who's just going to head it in. That is not Sam Surridge. He played left wing at times for Roomba Munthali, the interim head coach last season. And BJ Callahan looked back at where he was at his best at Nottingham Forest, and it was when he was playing in a two-striker system with now Tottenham striker Brennan Johnson. And that was when he played his best late arriving runs from the left-hand side, where he can kind of have that trademark use a model of another former Red Bull Thierry Henry finish of a right-footed shot into the side netting. When he made his arrival in Nashville against Monterrey in Leagues Cup, that was his first goal after his Club America header that was dramatic the week before. That was kind of his trademark finish for so long at the beginning days. So that partnership of Hani Mukhtar and Sam Surridge up top, they've got a lot on their plate. And striker depth is one of the concerns for this Nashville team. Teal Bunbury is the only other 9 on the entire roster. He's battling an injury to start the season. So homegrown Adam Sipic, who's still not played a game for Nashville yet in MLS, is the only other striker. So there's a lot on Sam Surridge's shoulders specifically. And of course, you talk about Hani Mukhtar. I mean, he is a couple assists away from joining the 50-50 club in MLS, for only a handful of other players active in the league sit. He has been tremendous, but now he has got more help. And now he doesn't have to try as many 25-yard shots. He's not always looking to shoot. It's funny, he talked to us last week when we met with him before the Revolution game about Eddie Tagseth, and he said, it's amazing. He's so smart. When I give him the ball, he wants it back. He's not just giving it to me and getting it out of the way. I like that. We needed that. So it's going to take time for those pieces to gel in the final third, when the only way to really gain that level of momentum and confidence and knowledge is just when the bullets are flying and you do it. But everything up to the final pass right now, those attackers, and specifically Hani and Sam together, really look to be very, very confident at the moment.
Will, quick with this last one, but to finish, and I think it's an important for a Nashville team trying to get back into the playoffs and back to the upper end of the Eastern Conference. What's the vibe with BJ Callahan as the head coach?
It's really interesting because you think of someone who has spent a lot of time in New Jersey and Philadelphia, and the brashness of Jim Curtin and the style of the union system that he came from. He doesn't come across that way. I mean, there is an openness, there's a warmth, there's almost a Southern hospitality feel to BJ Callahan, the person. And I think it's interesting. He made a point to spend a lot of time with these players when he came in last July, and he wanted to sit with them at lunch. He wanted to be, in the weight room with them just as they're lifting. And he told Mike Jacobs and the technical staff, you have certain hours of the day where you can talk to me about personnel decisions and players, but I don't want to start that, A, until the season is over, and B, only in these hours of the day. He wanted to make a point to get to know these players. So what I think is interesting with him, he's been very open with us. Everywhere he's been adding to something that has been built. In Philadelphia, Jim Curtin and the Union, they had built something spectacular there. He was adding on as a voice within that. As an assistant with the U.S. men's national team and knowing Greg Berhalter, that was something he was adding his perspective on, but that, again, had been built by Greg as the manager of the national team. This is the first time that he has built something himself from the ground up. And that has been the challenge, but that's also been, I think, the thing he has really enjoyed, putting his own signature, putting his own spin on what this culture is. We talk a lot about, this is chapter 6 of Nashville Soccer Club, and he wanted all these players to come in with a clean slate. Veterans, young players, guys that had played 100 games for Nashville or nothing. And a 19-year-old Matthew Corcoran, who comes in, as a US U20 kid who gets his first start over the weekend. It's a clean slate for everyone, and he has really stood by that and put his money where his mouth is with it as well.
Well, appreciate you giving us a couple minutes. Look forward to the game this weekend. I think early in the season, take it for what it's worth, an important game for both teams to figure out exactly where they stand in the Eastern Conference. Great to catch up with you, bud, and look forward to doing it again in May.
Pleasure as always. Good to catch up with you. Thank you.